Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Merkur 2739925. This watch is available from merkurwatchgroup.com for $139, which is €123. You can use the discount code Merkur088 to get $20 discount, and that will reduce the price to $109, which is €96. So firstly, let's look at the watch roll that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So usually Merkur watches come in a hard shell travel case. This is the first time I've seen Merkur use a watch roll, and it is a good upgrade. Very aesthetically pleasing. It's green, made from vinyl or PU leather, flawless stitching around the perimeter, also has a vinyl strap which secures the watch roll, and good attention to detail because it has stainless steel poppers, and as you can see the stainless steel popper is signed with the Merkur emblem. So two stainless steel poppers, as you can see, and one can adjust the tension of the strap securing the watch roll depending on whether you have one or two watches, so it's good. Inside we have two flaps which you open, and you can see the interior is fully upholstered to a good standard with contrasting khaki velour fabric. So we have a pocket on the right hand portion which houses the microfiber polishing cloth and also the leaflet that comes to the piece, and very well designed because we have the Merkur logo embossed. Now we have two pairs of straps, as you can see, and again the stainless steel poppers are signed with the Merkur emblem which is embossed, and the quality of the finishing is good. Stitching is flawless, no loose stitches around the perimeter, and the stitches to the straps are very good, so this can take one or two watches. And the watches are secured very well with these vinyl straps and secured with the stainless steel poppers. They snap together with a nice positive click, so they're very secure. And I think it's good. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing. They could have taken the default option of an inexpensive plastic or cardboard watch box, and as I've detailed, Merkur usually just use a hard shell travel case, but this vinyl or PU leather watch roll is more aesthetically pleasing, high quality, and bear in mind this is a low tier price point piece at only €96. This is an example to other Chinese low tier brands of how to get presentation correct. I think it's very good. With regards to the items that come with the piece, this is the owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and also translated into a plethora of foreign languages. It details the operation of the movement use, which is the Merkur caliber M01D manual wind. Also details the terms and conditions of the 2-year international warranty. And again, I want to give due credit to Merkur Watch Group here because usually Chinese low tier watches are only covered with a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of international warranty at this price point of €96 is exceptional, and they deserve full credit for that. One also gets this Team Merkur branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth irrespective of the price point of a piece. And lastly, one also gets this fold-out leaflet, and as you can see it says Join Us Watch Designer. So this invites you to submit your own watch design to Merkur Watch Group, and it has the contact email bd@merkurwatch.com. So you can design your own watch, and they offer 4 bases for the design. So we have dress chronograph, vintage military, sporty chronograph or retro. So these are the 4 styles of watch they can produce based on your own design, and you simply email your design to Merkur. They will produce the design renders free of charge, and then they will put the watch into production, either dress chronograph, vintage military, sporty chronograph or the retro piece shown in the 4 pictures, as you can see. So it's very good that you can produce your own watch made by Merkur Watch Group as an alternative to the pieces they offer on their website. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 38mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46mm and a thickness of 12mm. We have a lug width of 20mm, and the genuine leather strap is suede on the top side and it has a tan leather liner to the underside. So genuine suede leather tapering from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang signed with Merkur Watch Group. Now I'm pleased to see the same fonts used for Merkur Watch Group, which is engraved into the buckle as the Merkur text logo on the dial. Previously I've reviewed other Merkur pieces and they used a different font on the dial. They used a cursive text, and I think that was a disappointment. It was something I was critical of because I think for continuity of design, watch brands should use the same text logo on the dial as on the buckle and tang. And as you can see, they've made the correct decision here because this does not have cursive text. They've used the same Merkur font that they use on the dial as well as on the signed buckle and tang. High definition engraving, it's sharp and crisp of Merkur watch group. Nice heavy gaze to the solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle, and it's mirror polished to a flawless standard. No sharp edges, doesn't have sharp corners, and the buckle and tang are correctly proportioned, so very aesthetically pleasing. It's a good quality buckle and tang, bearing in mind this is a low tier price point piece at only €96. Quality of the stitching to the genuine suede leather strap is excellent, no loose stitches, and it's got a nice tape on it, plenty of holes. This will fit from a 6-inch wrist up to a maximum 8-inch wrist size. We have a boxed double dome top hat style crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished pencil handset, and also the contrasting blued pencil second hand on the subdial, as you can see. So I like the use of a blued second hand for the subdial, and the hands are correctly proportioned. I want to give credit to Merkur here, because often low tier Chinese brands have a tendency to undersize the hands. The handsets are often too short, but this piece uses correct size hands. The hour hand extends nearly to the Arabic numerals, which are Bauhaus font, and if you look at the minute hand, you can see it's long enough. It doesn't quite extend to the minute ticks on the chaptering, but it does extend to the hour markers and the Arabic numerals, and the hands do look correctly proportioned for this dial size. Also, the subdial is correctly proportioned at 6 o'clock. Concentric circles in it add interest because it's textured rather than just being flat, and the blued second hand on the subdial is also correctly proportioned. It extends nearly to the minute ticks. So they've done a good job of the Bauhaus dial design. The font is sharp and crisp, it's not too thick and blurry, so the symmetry is good, and also the legibility is good. Clarity is good, the AR coating works well, and I like the proportions of the Arabic numerals. The font used does look like Bauhaus fonts. For example, this reminds me of Nomos Glashütte pieces and also Stover pieces, which use similar Bauhaus fonts on their dials, and it does have that similar style Bauhaus design. It's very minimalist. I like that they haven't over-branded the dial with unnecessary text or specification. Often low-tier Chinese brands print too much information on the dial, such as the water resistance rating, which is negligible for a daily wear piece. This has 50 meters, which is perfectly acceptable, but there's no need to print it on the dial. So it simply says Merkur, and then it says manual in contrasting yellow. Good attention to detail and continuity of design, because the manual is subtle beneath Merkur in yellow, and that matches dots or squares of yellow next to the hour marks on the indices. So it's very well thought through. Also, the 6 o'clock position, either side of the 6 o'clock index, we have designed Peking, because Merkur watches are designed in Peking in China. So it's very good. The dial looks minimalist, it looks clean, it's not too cluttered, it's not too busy, and it does look like classic Bauhaus dial design. Chaptering is clearly printed, and the minute ticks are clearly legible, as are the hour markers. So the dial looks clean. I like the symmetry of it, and I like the Bauhaus font of the Arabic numerals. So with regards to the case, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, flawless mirror polishing. In between the lugs is also polished to a very high standard. Now, with low-tier Chinese-made watches, the first area I look at when the case is mirror polished in between the lugs is in between the lugs, because often that's an area that low-tier brands cut production costs. For example, in between the lugs, they do not polish to the same standard as the flanks of the case, the bezel and the caseback, but I'm pleased to report that Merkur Watch Group do finish in between the lugs with flawless mirror polishing to the same standard as the top of the case, the bezel and the caseback respectively. Mirror polishing is absolutely flawless on every facet of this piece. Nice large bevels undercuts the case, and that deletes any sharp edges, so it's a very slender piece, and the angular lugs are also nicely tapered, and I like the mirror polishing on every facet. The bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, absolutely flawless mirror polishing to it, nice low profile to it, and it's a flat bezel rather than a domed bezel, and that complements the box top hat crystal. The box top hat style double dome sapphire crystal does add 2mm of thickness to the piece, but I'm pleasantly surprised by this only being 12mm thick. That is the benefit of this being powered by a manual wind movement rather than an automatic with a rotor. The Merkur Caliber M01D is manual wind, so therefore there's no rotor, and the caseback can be flat. It doesn't need additional clearance to give clearance to a rotor. So although it does have a 2mm thick box top hat crystal, which adds some thickness to it, this is only 12mm, so it's not too thick. The proportions really are excellent. 38mm head of the piece with a 46mm lug to lug, so it's compact and particularly suitable if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. Right, so let's look at the strap in detail. The strap is made from genuine suede leather. Beautiful light grey tone to the top side, lovely textured finish to the suede leather, flawless stitching to the edges, plenty of holes in it which allow for adjustment from 6 inches to a maximum 8 inches, one sliding keeper which is good. We don't need two sliding keepers because this style of buckle and tang, as you can see, is double sided, so the first edge, or the second edge if you look at it this way, acts like a first keeper which is fixed, and the second keeper slides, which is good. So they do not need to have an additional two suede keepers. One edge of the buckle is enough to secure the strap as per a keeper. Now on the underside it's lined and it says 20-16, which is the correct taper for a 38mm head of the piece. Nicely embossed, as you can see, with a Merkur watch group emblem, and it says genuine leather. So the liner is tan genuine leather, very soft and supple, contrasting chocolate stitching to the underside. On the top side it has grey stitching to match the light grey suede. So very aesthetically pleasing to the top side, textured suede. On the underside it's perfectly smooth with a chocolate tone to the liner. Very soft and supple. Now it is a thick strap, but it does taper in width and also thickness. It's thicker at the spring bar end, but even at the spring bar end it feels very soft and supple. In terms of how soft and supple it feels very similar to shell cordovan Horween leather, or alternatively calf leather. So very soft and supple, doesn't require any breaking in, and I think immediately this is going to be comfortable. Now it is very thick at the spring bar end where it needs to be reinforced, because that's where the strap gets lots of wear and tear, but then it does taper down in thickness gradually to the buckle and tang end, so it is very flexible and plenty of holes in it. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. 6 inches up to 8 inches, so plenty of adjustment. The underside of the buckle and tang end is also well finished, and we've got the Merkur text logo embossed. 20-16 taper. 20mm lug width is correct for a 38mm head of the piece, and I'm pleased to see quick release stainless steel spring bars. They've made the correct decision here, because they could have used standard spring bars, and with mirror polished cases like this with thick straps, it can be difficult to compress the edge of the strap when exchanging it for an alternative strap. And by having quick release stainless steel spring bars, that negates the need for a spring bar tool, so that means it's easy to replace this strap or exchange it for an alternative, and you're not going to risk scuffing or scratching the mirror polished lugs. Quality of the mirror polishing to the underside head of the piece is absolutely flawless. So let's look at the caseback. Solid 316L grade stainless steel caseback, which provides an effective hermetic seal to 50 metres, which is perfectly acceptable. Nice high definition engraving, and we've got the lion head, which is very sharp and crisp. The engraving adds interest to it, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. We've got the Merkur text logo, and I think they've done a very good job with the engraving, because it's sharp and crisp, doesn't feel rough, doesn't feel scratchy against the wrist, so it's a very comfortable caseback. Pressed on caseback is acceptable versus a screw down caseback. 50 metres is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece. This isn't a dive piece, so it doesn't need 100 metres or 200 metres. 50 is okay. I personally prefer screw down casebacks because they give a better hermetic seal, but for a daily wear piece, a pressed on caseback is acceptable. The thing I like about the caseback is the mirror polishing is absolutely flawless, feels very smooth, and it also looks very aesthetically pleasing because it contrasts with the engraving very well. The thing I also like about it is it's very flat and low profile. Rather than being a bubble back caseback, it's very flat. That is the benefit of using a manual wind movement versus an automatic, as I've detailed, and that slims this piece down to only 12mm, which is excellent for a daily wear piece. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now just bear with me because it's fiddly to get the end of the suede strap in this double buckle, as you can see, but I'm pleased to report this is a pleasant surprise, because often low-tier Chinese pieces at this price point have straps which are too short for my 8-inch wrist, but this one is actually the perfect size. Pleasant surprise. So this will fit from a minimum 6-inch wrist size up to a maximum 8-inch wrist size, as you can see. I can actually engage the end of the suede leather strap in the first keeper, as you can see, or the single keeper, and also both sides of the buckle. So this is long enough for an 8-inch wrist. Excellent. I can even slide an index finger beneath the buckle and tang and strap at all times. So plenty of length on this, and as you can see, plenty of holes to size it down to a minimum 6-inch up to a maximum 8-inch wrist size. There are still 2 spare holes in the strap, so this is excellent. Merkur deserve full credit because this will cover you from a 6-inch wrist up to an 8-inch wrist size, suitable for all wrist sizes. So I'm very pleased about that. Now, in terms of wrist presence, it is a compact piece. Suitable for a daily wear piece because it's only 38mm. It does have a compact lug to lug measurement, and the angled lugs do angle around the wrist very snugly, which is good because we don't have a large gap beneath the tips of the angled lugs. So I would say this is particularly suitable for collectors if you have a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist. However, if you have a larger 7 to 8 inch plus wrist, you may find the 38 does not give enough wrist presence. This doesn't dominate the wrist as per a 40mm. 38 is very good for a daily wear piece. In terms of comfort level, it is 10 out of 10. The suede leather strap is very soft and supple, feels very flexible like a Horween shell cordovan strap or calf leather strap. It feels very soft and supple even though it's thick at the spring bar end. Comfort level of the head of the piece is also excellent because it has that flat, smooth, mirror polished stainless steel case back. And as you can see, the benefit of it not having a bubble back case back is the head of the piece sits very snug to the wrist. The angle lugs angle well around the wrist, and also the case back is very snug to the wrist despite having a thick 2mm box top hat crystal. So the box top hat crystal does look aesthetically pleasing, looks rather like a vintage acrylic crystal from the 1960s, although sapphire crystal is of course more hard and scratch resistant than both acrylic and mineral crystal. So I'm pleased to see that Merkur didn't use the cost cutting measure of acrylic or mineral crystal at this price point. There are no cost cutting measures. To see sapphire crystal with AR coating at the €96 price point is good. Bauhaus design is clearly legible, and the pencil hands are also correctly proportioned and clearly legible. Mirror polished flat profile bezel is good, and I like the way the box top hat crystal projects above it. It does add interest, so it does look visually like a vintage piece from the 1960s, but it has modern day enhancements of course because it's sapphire crystal versus acrylic. So the thing I like about this piece is it's low profile at only 12mm. As you'll know from my previous reviews, 13mm and below is the sweet spot because that means a daily wear piece will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. The other thing I really like about this piece above all else is the lack of heft. It is only 54 grams on this genuine suede leather strap, as you can see. 54 grams really is exceptionally light, and that's the benefit of using a manual wind movement versus an automatic, which does add some heft to it. And 54 means it feels weightless on wrist. This does feel like an invisible watch. So if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you'll particularly enjoy the compact 46mm lug to lug and the 54 gram lack of heft. Now, thing to note is 48mm is the sweet spot. That is the perfect lug to lug measurement. I often refer to it in my previous reviews because 48 will fit you regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. So at 46 it is 2mm below the perfect lug to lug measurement, but however 46 will fit a 6 to 7 inch wrist very well because it is compact. The angle profile to the lugs does wrap around the wrist very well, so it doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel. It wraps around the wrist. It really does angle around the wrist very well. So a nice snug fit under the tips of the lugs, and the flat case back means the head of the piece is very close. No sharp edges to the undercuts to the flanks. Comfort level is 10 out of 10. Feel good factor is 10 out of 10. I really like it. 54 grams and 38mm is very compact but also lacks heft. So very comfortable piece. The strap feels very good. It's a very high quality strap. And Merkur deserve credit because this is a high quality genuine leather suede strap on a low tier piece. They could have used the cost cutting measure of using an inexpensive genuine leather strap, but this is a high quality strap and it does feel soft and supple. Doesn't require any breaking in. The tan liner to it also feels perfectly smooth. So I really like the strap and it really does enhance the comfort level. Now there's no loom on the dial or hand, so therefore we don't need to do a loom test. So let's discuss the movement use. So as I've detailed, this is powered by the Merkur Caliber M01D. So it's a manual wind movement rather than an automatic, and therefore it doesn't have automatic winding. It has 17 joules and it has hand winding, but it doesn't hack. That's something to note if you prefer watches that hack, so therefore it's not possible to set the time precisely to the second. 42-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable, and the stated accuracy is plus or minus 25 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, Merkur are doing a good job of regulating the Caliber M01Ds they're using. They're clearly regulating the movements in 5 positions because this one is running consistently at plus 7 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. So let's test the manual winding and the crown execution. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished, nice large chamfer to it which deletes the sharp edge of the tips of the coin edge teeth, and it's signed to a good standard with the Merkur emblem, as you can see. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. So the background is matte B blasted effect, and the Merkur emblem, M, is mirror polished in silver. No sharp edges to the embossing and no sharp edges to the tips of the teeth because we've got that large chamfer. The crown is correctly proportioned for manually winding on a daily basis, which is good. But however, it's not too large, therefore it doesn't stick too proud outside the right hand flank of the case, and it's good because it's grippy and tactile with a coin edge finishing, feels large enough to get good purchase with your index finger and thumb for manually winding, but it's not too large and doesn't stick into the back of the hand when you flex the wrist. So as it's a push-pull crown versus a screw-down crown, in the closed position we can manually wind the Merkur caliber M01D to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Now, it does feel like a heavy mainspring. That's a characteristic of the caliber M01D you need to become accustomed to. So to put this into perspective, when you're manually winding it, you can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up, but it feels much heavier, much more tension in it. So it feels heavier to manually wind than a Seiko NH35A or a Miyota 8215, which you may be familiar with. It does feel like a much more robust movement. The mainspring tension is a lot heavier on this movement. But however, it does feel smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty to manually wind, and I like the way the tension builds up quickly in it. So you can feel the 42-hour power reserve, which is its maximum. It's not possible to overwind it because it has a ratcheting mechanism which releases excess tension in the mainspring. So for example, 40 clockwise turns when the mainspring is fully exhausted and the movement has stopped dead. 40 clockwise turns is enough to fully wind it to its maximum 42 hours. But however, if you accidentally exceed the 40 clockwise turns, it's not possible to damage the movement by over winding it. Once you reach 40 turns and the mainspring is fully wound, it has a clutch release mechanism, and that will release the excess tension in it, and therefore you cannot damage it, which is good. But 40 is enough. So feels smooth to manually wind. Now pulling it out to the first click position is the final click position because there's no date complication. So as I've detailed, the negative to this movement is that there is no hacking. If you look at the second subdial at 6 o'clock, you can see when it's in the time setting position, the second hand on the subdial continues to run, so you can't stop it dead to hack the movement to set the time precisely to the second. That is the negative of the caliber M01D, no hacking. But however, in the time setting position it feels smooth. When you cycle through the 12 hours, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's minimal friction in the gears. So 17 joules, the gears mesh very well, very low friction movement and minimal backplay. There is some very slight backplay, but it's necessary because if it didn't have the backplay in the meshing of the gearing, when you push back in the crown, it would cause the minute hand to jump out of position. So some backplay is necessary. It does have a minimal amount which is acceptable, so you don't have to take up a lot of slack. When you rotate the coin edge crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's an almost immediate response to the pencil minute hand. So minimal backplay, don't have to take up a lot of slack clockwise and anti-clockwise, which is good. And when you push it back in, it's got a nice positive click and the minute hand does not jump out of position, so it's very well executed. Meshing of the gearing is good, 17 joules is good. The only negative subjectively is the 3 Hz sweep. If you look at the second hand on the subdial, you can see it has a stutter or judder to it. Now it's not as smooth as a 4 Hz sweep with a movement running at 28,800 vibrations per hour. This is a characteristic of the M01D. It runs at 3 Hz because it's 21,600 vibrations per hour. So the second hand has that characteristic stutter or judder rather than sweeping smoothly as per a 4 Hz sweep. But I say subjective because for the majority of collectors, a stutter or judder to the 3 Hz sweep is perfectly acceptable. For example, they accept it with the Miyota 8215 and the Seiko NH35A. They also run at 3 Hz respectively. Personally, I prefer a smoother 4 Hz sweep, but it is subjective. The only other real negative to the movement is the lack of accuracy. It is a reliable, well-proven workhorse caliber, so the durability is excellent, the build quality is excellent, the reliability is excellent. However, it's not very accurate. The stated accuracy is plus or minus 25 seconds, as I've detailed, which is a very wide accuracy range, but this one has been well regulated. It's running at plus 7, which is well within the plus or minus 25. Really, plus 7 is to be expected, so anything within plus or minus 10 seconds is typical for a caliber M01D. To put it into perspective, they run best or more accurately when they're fully wound to their maximum 42 hours, as do all manual wind mechanical movements, that's a given. So when it's running at 42 hours of power reserve and there's plenty of tension in the mainspring, this will consistently run at plus 7 seconds per day, which is excellent. But however, as the power reserve depletes, as the mainspring unwinds, it loses its tension. For example, when it's between 10 and 20 hours of power reserve, the accuracy runs out wider. So for example, it may run at plus or minus 20 seconds or plus or minus 25 seconds per day, which is inaccurate. So in order to keep it running accurately at plus 7, you need to keep the power reserve topped up with manual winding. So for example, I would recommend you manually wind this every day and keep it topped up to its maximum 42 hour power reserve with 40 clockwise turns. That will really enhance the accuracy, because if you let it run below 10 hours, for example, you'll find it running at plus or minus 25 seconds per day, which is inaccurate. That's just the negative or the characteristic of the Calibre M01D. When they're fully wound, they're accurate. When the power reserve depletes below 20 hours, 10 to 20 hours, they become inaccurate, and below 10 hours, they become very inaccurate. So plus or minus 25 is to be expected below 10 hours. If it's up at 42 hours power reserve, you can get plus 7 quite easily. So lack of accuracy, but reliability is excellent, robust movement, durable, build quality is good, quality control, materials are all good. So it is a good choice. Now the thing I like about it is it's thin. And as I've detailed, even though this has a 2mm thick box top hat double dome sapphire crystal, it's still only 12mm thick. Flat caseback rather than bubble back caseback. It's not top heavy, doesn't feel too thick. It's not 13mm plus, which it would be if it used a Seiko NH35A or NH38A respectively. That's the thing I like about it. It's a thin calibre. So 12mm thick piece, and it's only 54 grams, so it feels invisible on wrist. Comfort level, feel good factor are 10 out of 10. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So low tier piece, the price point is $109, which is €96 if you use the discount code Merkur088 to get $20 off. So €96 price point. It's excellent quality at €96. Value I'm going to declare as okay. I'm not going to say good value, and I'm not going to say excellent value at €96, because this does face some stiff competition from other Chinese low tier brands, but the quality is excellent. Double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating is excellent. The clarity is good. Dial is very well printed. Quality of the printing is outstanding. Mirror polishing to the case is absolutely flawless. Bezel, head of the piece, case back are finished to perfection. High quality, genuine suede leather strap, very soft and supple. Comfort level is good. Quality of the finishing to the buckle and tang is also excellent. So overall, quality of the finishing, build quality, quality control of this piece is outstanding. It is excellent at €96. I think they could reduce the price further to make it more competitive. For example, if this were below €80, then I would say it was excellent quality and excellent value at €80 or below, and therefore I would declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. But at €96, I'm going to say the value is okay, but not good or excellent, but the quality is excellent. So I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration. No negatives to the piece whatsoever. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Merkur 273-9925. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.